Welcome back, everybody, to DK After Dark, helping you pave your path and showing you how other artists have paved theirs. Today, we have another very special guest with us. We have Nomed all the way from the Virginia, Maryland area. And yeah, he's going to give us, some insight onto himself, some insight onto what he knows about the industry, and just, tell kind of what's going on. So, if you want to introduce yourself, tell, a little bit, give a little bit of tidbit, go right
Mhm.
ahead.
What's up, y'all? I'm Nomed Sky, as you know, as Dante just said. But I'm from the DMV, Maryland area. It's right on the border of Virginia and Maryland. Pretty cool, close to DC and a bunch of different stuff. But yeah, I'm an artist and producer. I started back in like freshman year of high school, maybe before that. Um, But yeah, I've been working on it now for 6, 7 years, and there's a bunch of ups and downs being an artist and a producer, obviously. But here I am, so I'm ready. I'm welcomed.
And hey, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. I have loved hearing, every single project that you've been putting out, and working on like through either, school, or, what I'm seeing you post on your story and then, what's actually out like for people to listen to right now that you have. So you said that you kind of have been like, producing and stuff like since like freshman year. So like even before that, were you like kind of like into music or were you kind of experimenting or anything like that? Or was it something that you kind of just decided to do like during that time?
Yeah, so I've always had a deep passion for music. It's always connected with me like very personally.
Right.
I think as many artists and producers can say. Um, yeah, it was really my escape when I was a kid, not making it, just being able to listen to it. I was listening to some, I would say some vulgar and violent stuff. That old 2000s Slim Shady type of stuff
Oh
when I
yeah.
was like 7 or 8. So growing up off of that, it definitely made me escape and just realize how much music really meant to me through those small childhood years. And my mom was she did a lot of lights and sound for theater shows and different
Okay.
stuff like that. So it was like a straight introduction, just straight out the womb into the music.
Oh yeah. So you've kind of been
So
around the or got to be like around, music your entire life. And I definitely like I can 100% understand like the escape thing. Cause I mean like I think all of us, artists, producers, anything like that, I think we all feel that 100%.
oh yeah, definitely.
So like when you like got into producing, like kind of what like made you start producing? Were you like, I just want to start making this for myself now that, I'm listening to it or, kind of what was the switch?
Mhm. Well, I would say it started like middle school, maybe even late elementary school. I would just like, I didn't know it at the time,
Hmm.
but I would sing like popular pop songs and just like kind of make my own lyrics as
Okay.
I was like singing them, kind of freestyling in a way.
Right.
And I didn't know it at the time. But then come like freshman year, I was like, why don't I try and make music? So, of course, I started out with just like seeing a beat online, downloading it, and seeing how I sound.
Right.
But after a few months, I was like, I gotta learn how to make these beats because
Yep.
like if I can do that and do the whole process myself, then that's how I really, put out my emotions into every single little detail into my
Right.
songs and projects. So
Yeah. And I feel like and I definitely want to hear your opinion on this too, but like when you're like producing for yourself and like making it from start to finish, it just feels a lot more personal. And like I feel like you can like, instead of trying to make something that fits into something else, you're making what you fully want to make, you know?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And it just feels like you've created kind of a whole new genre just by yourself. And
Right.
obviously you don't. You have all these bits and pieces from other genres, but yeah, just that certain feeling. It is really hard to explain, but when you make everything and every little detail, like I said yourself, it just feels so good,
It
you know?
does. Yep, it definitely does. Because, like, I mean, just not having to rely on anyone else and knowing that, you can
Mhm.
keep pushing yourself forward like that, I think is great.
Yeah.
So freshman year, you kind of started like really getting into the production wise. So like,
Mhm.
did you start by producing for other people or did you start, because you said, you like to freestyle and stuff like that. So did you kind of
Mhm.
start to go that way or, do a little bit of both?
Yeah, I had a few friends, and one of them is actually an artist today over at Virginia Tech. They have their whole underground scene, which is pretty cool. I got a show coming up there. But
Oh, awesome.
anyways, yeah, so that just shows like how far that friendship has gone. But yeah, there was like three or four of us, and I was just making beats and like sending some of them to them. And a few of them were like, "Oh, let me hop on," and then they ended up not going that route. But like I said, my friend EC, he kept like hopping on them, and
Right.
then he kept pushing me to hop on it, and then that kind of like friendship was just very important, and that pushed us both to, just do what we love. So,
Definitely. So, I gotta ask kind of a little bit of a side conversation, but since you say you like, have this friendship, like what is like the best thing you think that's like come out of it and like what can you like recommend maybe for like other people to have like someone like obviously not like a copy but like like
yeah,
someone like that like that's pushing you forward like that.
yeah. Oh, it's huge. I mean, this industry is crazy. So having any friendships and connections that you can be not only like make business decisions with and have
Right.
some, serious stuff with them, but also just on the low be hanging out and making your own music and sharing it on the daily and just being real with each other and how you feel about that music and where they could go and truthfully inspire each other because
Right.
that'll just both of you will just keep climbing, you know what I mean? And
100%.
it's just a great friendship. And that's the real thing too, is just connections and one connection leads to another, and then you
Right.
make new friends, you make new music with them, and it's just all about that journey.
100%. I think one of the most important things is definitely just being like open and receptive to receiving, people towards you like because I mean like you said like half of what you're doing as an artist, producer, anything is just networking, talking to people,
Mhm.
making those connections.
100%. Hmm.
And also I think like one thing that really stuck out to me that you said is like, having someone that can almost like give you critique in like a in actually like a meaningful way, not just being like, well, it's bad or something like that, or like, oh, I like
Yeah,
it, like, why do you
yeah,
like it necessarily, and
yeah.
why is
Because
the best?
I mean, I know you know this too, but
Right.
there's people you'll play the music to, and they're just like, "Yeah, I like it. I like it. Sounds good." And it's just like, cool. Like, what?
Yeah.
What about it? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, give me some details. Like, what did you like specifically? You
It's
know?
like,
So,
are you liking the synth? Are you liking the drum set?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
no, seriously.
yeah.
Um, and I think like I know I am very scared to like, receive criticism because obviously like, when you're putting
Mm,
something out there like that, it is very personal. So,
yeah.
like you said, having that just like someone that that's like not going to be like,
Hmm.
mean about it, but will actually, put you in the right path, I think is like super important.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's important for other people, especially those close people, to be direct,
Right.
and give you that insight. And you're like, that's actually something I didn't see, and that's something I can work on. So it's
Exactly.
definitely a big factor.
Okay. So I want to ask a little bit because I really don't know much about like kind of like the area that you're from. So like what is kind of like the music scene like? Like do you do like a lot of shows out there? Is there like a lot of other people out there or like kind of how does that going?
So it's interesting because the Nova area is very hit or miss.
Okay.
There's good stuff in it and good places and good little clubs and venues. They're just kind of very hidden.
Right.
Um, and it's the same with the people and the music scene in itself. Like if you were to walk through the streets, you're not going to see like really any true music scene. Like you're not going to feel it in any way.
Right.
Um, but there's good deep connections and there's a lot of people. So that's a good thing that's around here. But a lot of what I'm currently doing and gonna be doing upcoming too is just gonna be shows at like college campuses
Hmm.
and different stuff like that because that's a big place where like there's other artists either right around the college or in the college, and they have their own program and shows. And that's in my opinion, a great way to connect and just get to the audience that me personally that I kind of aim for a little bit. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Definitely.
it
I
works
definitely
out
understand.
well. Yeah.
So like how, because obviously I also understand like because I live in a pretty small city, like there's like a
Mhm.
100,000 people in my city.
Mhm.
And I don't know like size wise how that is like compared to yours. But
Mhm.
like how do you kind of go about like meeting those people and like making those connections like other than like going out to shows and stuff like that? Like do you have like any
Mhm.
specific ways or like anything like that?
Um, Honestly, a lot of it just comes from, well, one, visiting and just, checking out where you could possibly perform and maybe
Right.
catching a show there and just seeing maybe you get to talk with the artist and see how much it costs and just different things like that. But another thing is just online.
Hmm.
And once you get one connection or a couple in that area, then it just kind of seems to automatically grow.
Right.
So it's not necessarily like a blueprint, like, oh, you need to do this and that, you know what I mean? But it's more of like
100%.
a get yourself involved and see where you can fit in
Yeah.
and how you can help the other people in that area. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
So it's like more definitely like finding a way that you can serve the community and how it can serve you.
yeah,
Okay.
100%.
So like I know you talked about like, performing at college shows. So did you kind of like how did you go about like, getting those scheduled? Did you just kind of like contact the thing or is there like any special I don't know, processes that you have to go through for that or
Yeah, so you kind of gotta ask around and find the right person,
right,
because most college campuses, especially around this area, like Virginia Tech, VCU, different campuses like that, they'll have a person and usually a group of like 8 to 10 people who will run this club, um, and as long as you just kind of ask around and figure out who's running it or who's a part of it. And from there, you just kind of get your way in and ask and see the prices and the times and how they run it and stuff. Because, that's important too. You kind of don't want to go to a club that's just doing like basement parties only. It's
right,
just like you want a little bit more, a serious note and some stuff that's actually kind of kicking.
definitely. Yeah, because I mean, if you're going to those places, I mean, I think a lot of the time, like the music or the message that you're trying to convey can just get lost because, people are trying to,
Mhm.
just like have a
Yeah,
good time.
they're focused on other stuff and they're
Right.
not, they just want to do their own thing, which is totally fine. You just got to find the right places. So,
100%. So, like, in terms of, like the cost of like performing on there, like, what is that kind of like? Is it like a lot or kind of like in the middle or,
so it varies.
right,
Varies a lot, obviously, depending on the club and the venues. And sometimes there's multiple clubs that join in, and it's more of like a not charity, but it's like everything kind of pays for itself. So
right,
you're kind of in there for free because other people are paying. Um, and sometimes, if it's multiple clubs, what I've experienced in those scenarios is when there's multiple clubs, they'll actually pay the artist to perform because they're going to have a bigger crowd, obviously, with
right,
both crowds joining up. So, I mean, the most I've ever had to pay to perform was, I'm being real with you, $50 was the most I ever had to pay so far. And it wasn't a huge venue. It was no
right.
more than like maybe 100 people. Um, but, even that right there is just so much fun and so much, uh, what do you call it?
Exposure.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Nope.
Yeah.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty, I mean, I've tried to like perform at a couple places in like my city and honestly it is kind of like insane how much they want to charge. So like it's
Yeah.
good to hear
Yeah.
that like it's only that you've only had to pay like up to like $50 there. But
Yeah, and that's the good part about like these kind of college shows. As long as the scenario is right and it's actual like music enthusiasts that want to come listen and see what kind of like the underground scene is like. Whereas yeah, like those bigger places, bigger venues, true venues, they charge.
oh
So
yeah, 100%. I've And have you had like a lot of success in like turning like when you performed on college campuses or like in general in turning those people to like, like listeners that keep on coming back or like do you have a
Mhm.
specific strategy to engage with your audience or anything like
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, so there's a few things I'll do. Usually I start out with obviously a more kind of upbeat hype song,
Right.
get everyone kind of viewed on me, and get connected with the audience just off the start. After that ends, introduce myself, get to know the audience off of that first song.
Yep.
Um, and I would like to say my music is very diverse, so I have a bunch of different things that I could play,
Right.
from hard rock to light rock to screamo rap to soul and sad rap type of thing. So
Exactly.
it's kind of like just reading the room,
Okay.
and connecting with them. And one of my favorite things too, especially for my rock, is I have very kind of short but catchy choruses, and off of those, I'll just kind of sing the chorus to them, make them repeat it, so that by the time the song starts, they already are kind of connected with that and know it.
Okay. That's like really good idea actually. I've never even thought about that.
Hmm.
So you kind of just, reading the room, just kind of going with the flow and seeing what's going on. Do you usually like do you usually perform with like other people or do you do like
Hmm.
all by yourself? So like what is like
Yeah.
kind of the experience that you've had like when performing with other people? Like has it been good? Like any tips for that or like
Yeah, I think, I mean, if you're still somewhat in the starting and starting to get rolling, starting to get some motion, um, I think the best thing that you could do is perform with other people,
right.
like three or four, and not necessarily see it as a competition
Hmm.
and don't like express yourself that way. But on the inside, you wanna be the spotlight and you
Right.
wanna show who you are, and prove to everyone why you're there.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely more fun and can be more impactful. Because if you're doing solo shows, it's definitely good. You got fans that are coming just for you.
Right.
But if you want to turn fans and these just audience members into fans, then it's definitely a great place to get exposure and show yourself.
Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. Like, and I think
Mhm.
because it's really like you said that you don't necessarily like you do want to be competing with them, but like you don't want to be like a dick. Like you don't want
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
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 I hate this guy and I'm better than
yeah,
them, so like you need to listen to me, like that's not
yeah,
the vibe
yeah.
necessarily.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
no, it's definitely. I mean, I've had a few people that I've seen that I have actually worked with now, either produced or hopped on a track with them.
right,
So it's definitely fun. It's definitely a good experience, and it's like friendly competition. You know what I mean? You're both
true.
trying to just be the best type thing.
And I think like one thing that's like really nice about that too, like as an artist is like when you're performing with other people, like if you don't necessarily have like a huge audience for yourself, like you
Hmm.
can get a bigger audience and get like more exposure because like you
Yeah,
are performing with those other people as well.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So kind of before because like the Zoom meeting is gonna end, so I have to like restart it. But
Okay.
before that happens, like what is has been like one of your like most favorite times like performing or like, like kind of like the this is like where you had the moment of being like, yeah, this is why I do this?
Hmm. Hmm. Um, I think it's honestly, it's gonna sound kind of funny, but I threw a Halloween party, I think my junior year or something
Okay.
like that. Um, and me and my boy EC, who's now at Virginia Tech, in their club, before all that and college and stuff and that, we, at that party, it kind of got blown up, so there was way more people there than we intended. It's supposed to
Damn.
be like, 50 people, ended up
Right.
being like 150.
Oh,
Um, so there was a deck with like, it was probably like 15 feet off the ground. Like it was really high off the ground.
okay.
Um, but me and Ethan were like, we had a ginormous speaker and we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's run it.
Yeah.
So that was technically speaking, the first show. I mean, it wasn't even official or anything, but yeah, that was the moment where both of us were like, yeah, we need
This
to
is it.
do this.
That is
Yeah.
so fucking awesome. Like honest, that sounds so fucking cool. I would have loved to like see that shit. Like I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
lie. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. So we will be back in 1 second here. All right. So before we had to fucking restart the Zoom because Zoom is a bitch, we were talking a little bit kind of about performance shit like that. So since we've kind of, been on more of like the, I guess like frontman side, um, let's talk a little bit, about your actual process of like production and like songwriting and stuff like that. So like, kind of when you're going to, because I know you do a lot of different genres, a lot of diverse shit. So like, do you kind of like when you're making a song, do you start with the genre? Do you start with, what do you start with basically,
Being fully real, I'd just start with how I'm feeling. I mean, that's
Hmm.
the very first step in my whole process is just to understand myself and my own emotions that I'm
Definitely.
feeling. Because that's how I'm gonna, truly speak myself and express myself in the way that I want to. Um, and that goes into producing too, not only just writing lyrics or creating the song itself. It's just starting with a beat, I'll boot up the system. Maybe I'll go on a walk or something and just kind of relax myself before. Um, but yeah, just that first step of understanding how I feel
Hmm.
will kind of mix into even what genre or what sounds I'm going for.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and after that first step, it's usually once I understand that and the sounds I'm going for, then I start painting the picture of, okay, maybe I want this to have a couple choruses, maybe only two. It starts with one, then I get like 2 minutes of straight rapping. Or I'm going like, I'm in a very pop punk feel and I want something catchy that'll just stick into my ears and then go on that route. So it's definitely just how I'm feeling. Um, in the moment and on that day, and then I'll kind of just ride that wave into the
Okay.
music. So,
Okay.
mhm,
So like kind of when you're thinking about like, so once you figure out the emotions, you kind of then just go into more of like the actual beat production, or are you kind of like a lyrics first like person?
mhm. Um, I mean that varies too.
Hmm.
It tends I usually do the beat first.
Right.
I'll usually create the beat, get the vibes going. And if I depending on how much I like the beat too, I'll be like, I'm not really feeling this. I'm gonna try a new one. And
Yep.
then maybe that one is the one that I'm like, okay, I like this a lot. I like how it's moving. I like, the flow of it. I really feel like I can do something here. And that's when I'll usually sit down for like 30 minutes to an hour, just chill out after, making the beats and really just let it like sink into myself, how I'm
Yeah.
feeling, and then listen to the beat. And that's when I start writing. After I'm relaxed again and cooled off and have some more energy, I'm like, all right, yeah, let's feel this and let's see what the vibe is like. And then I rarely sit down and don't finish a song
Hmm.
um, because I don't like punching back in. I tend to make more mistakes when I try and punch back in either a couple of days or a week later.
Right.
So I usually just finish the song. And if I don't, actually, what I've been doing recently is I'll just kind of freestyle a couple bars at a time and just kind of fit it in there. Maybe sit for like 5 minutes, see what the best bar could be, and see where the story's going. And that's how I'll carry on from there.
Okay.
So.
That's really sick, honestly. So,
Mhm.
like, when you mean like sit down to like finish the song, like you mean like full, like basically like, recording, everything like that. Like you pretty much just do in like one session.
Yeah, most of it. So I'll definitely do all the lyrics in one session.
Right.
And the first takes, I always get the full song done in at least first takes. So
Right.
even if it doesn't sound great, I want the just project there and I want to understand where I'm going. So that when
Yes.
I do tune back in, I already have all the blueprint filled out and I'm like,
Right.
okay, even if I'm replacing something, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of compare it to one sound versus another and
Right.
kind of see like which sounds better, and which fits better and how I want to attack it then. And there's a bunch of different vocals where I could just replace because I'm like, that sounds a little shaky.
Hmm.
So it's definitely it's definitely a learning process because I didn't start that till like a year or two ago.
Right.
Um, and that has been a huge benefactor in understanding like it takes time to fully bring everything together. Like
100%.
rarely do you ever get like an even 80% finished project
Yeah.
after one day. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a miracle, you know what I
Right.
mean? So it takes weeks, if not months of time to really not only get the track fully together, but get multiple tracks together, you know? So
Right. Yeah, like you said, I think like, and I've been trying to get better at this too, is just like if I can put everything in place, like you said, it just
mhm.
makes it a lot because it's not necessarily then, oh, I'm coming back and having to figure out like what the hell I'm doing. Like it's like I've got
Yeah.
the idea there. Because
Yeah.
like otherwise you're like, oh, how do I even like because obviously, I don't know how this goes for you, but when I write lyrics, obviously it's going to change a little bit, kind of just like
Mhm.
how it's actually like fitting on the beat. Because, like, certain words just won't work, or like, you got to change some stuff to just make it fit right. Um,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah, but you definitely don't want to just be like sitting there, like, I don't know. I feel like having to do that the entire time, especially coming back, I would just never want to finish a song. Like,
Yeah.
it would be a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like do you usually do because I know there's some people who like they'll write their lyrics and then like they kind of like go back through and like I guess like dramatize it a lot. Do you like to do that at all or like go back through and kind of, make like heighten everything that's going on or you kind of like a one shot and go through it?
Um, it varies. Yes, I'm usually more of a one shot
Yep.
person, but most of my like I'll go back and kind of critique it and fix it up because most of the time at one point or like some point in a verse I may switch what is it? The like the meaning. Like instead of
Right.
saying like you, I'll say she and it'll
Hmm.
kind of like just not fit right. So
Right.
mostly like I'm fixing those, the I and the you and the Y and that stuff.
Right.
Um but I usually that's why when I'm writing I usually tend to focus on like the adjectives and the exact like meaning and big words that I'm going for because I can
Yeah.
always clean up the smaller stuff later,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely. Okay.
So,
Okay. So then kind of like, like in your or do you have any, I guess like tricks that you use like kind of when you're like writing, I guess, to like kind of get your like feelings out there and make sure that you're actually like portraying them in a right way, like anything like that.
yeah. I usually start with like a 2 to 4 bar, just kind of maybe, well, I usually start with 2 to 4 bar, trying to go for the chorus.
Right,
A lot of the times it doesn't end up being the chorus,
right.
but you get those like kind of meaningful bars that you can then get a title out of for me
True.
personally. Um, and once I get the title, if I'm ever lost and feel off track or feel like I can't get the next line going, I just think about the title. Like
Okay.
sometimes I'll just stare at it and think about like different scenarios involving that title. Um, and that usually helps me get back into the feelings that maybe I was feeling 20 minutes ago and I'm not now, but
Right.
I can understand it again and get back into that mood. And then once I start getting a few more lines down, then it kind of rolls again. So that's my main thing is I'll just make sure I get back to the topic and get back to those feelings that I'm really going for in the song.
Okay. So are you kind of like a feeling like a lot of people like when they describe like songwriting, it's like literally just like, like letting basically whatever it is, flowing out, not like trying to force anything. And like, would you say you're like definitely one of those people? It's like, putting yourself in the mindset to feel that way and just letting
Mhm.
it kind of just come out.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely say that I love to find the vibe that the beat is going for
Right.
and that feeling and emotion you get from the beat alone. And then I just shape the rest of the song with the lyrics. So it's like the beat will have the blueprint kind of laid out and the emotions already started. And then you really kind of tell the listener kind of what the beat is already explaining, but then you add the details of the story and it kind of just comes into picture.
Okay. Okay. That's super sick. All right. So, oh gosh, let me think here. So, kind of like when you're going about like finishing it and like putting like, the final touches on there, like how how do you kind of know like when you're done with your song? Like how do you like put yourself in that?
I'm gonna be honest, that's something I've been struggling a bit with lately
Right.
because, you'll listen to songs that you released maybe a year, 2, 3 years ago, and you're like, man, I have so much I can fix. And you listen to your songs now and you're like, they're a lot better, but I still have like so many critiques that I feel like maybe this note could change, you know? And there's a lot of kind of business decisions in that sense of do you want to go in there and change it and possibly make it worse, and then you
Right.
have to fix that again, you know? But yeah, I'll definitely find a lot of different just nitpicky things that the average listener probably won't ever care for. But as artist, producer, um,
It just
it's
bugs
just
you.
the yeah, it just pops out, and it's
Yep.
like now every time you listen to it, you're just like 5 seconds before you're like, oh, here it comes,
Yep.
and it just happens, and you're like, oh, god damn, I wish I could fix that. But yeah, I mean, I usually let it sit for at least like a month or two
Okay.
and get those little nitpicky things out. Um, and then after that, I'll still find the tiniest little just sounds that I could fix.
Right.
And at that point, it's just like, you're always going to find them. Like they're going to be there forever.
Right.
Like no matter, there's always a new sound. And I feel like almost every artist can say that. Like they'll listen to their old songs and be like, yeah, like on the inside, they know that there's a few spots that they wish they'd fix. But I think that's a good part of music too, is like how good can you really get that song and how much can you push yourself to where there are pretty much no mistakes.
Right.
Because if there's no mistakes to you as an artist and you feel great about it, then you know that you can have that confidence of other people feeling the same way.
Right.
So
100%. So like because I know like one of the things that like has really stuck out to me that I can't even remember who said this to me, but like I think it's like the perfect thing is like when you get to a point, you have to like weigh whether it's like you said, like whether you're actually destroying the song by like what you're adding, what you're changing, or like if it's actually making it better. Because like
yeah.
I feel I don't know how it is for you, but I feel like I can get to 80% or like maybe like 60 to 70% done pretty fast, but it's like that last like 30,
Mhm.
20% where it's like I can spend like literally months like working
Yeah.
on that last 5% too, like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Those last, 30 to 40%, like you were saying, is just, it's like you had the vision in the first 50% and you were having the most fun from like 20 to 60,
Yep.
70%. And then that last like 20, 30%, you're just like, all right, I gotta lock in,
Yep. It's
I gotta finish this. Like,
and then the
and then it
last
just keeps extending like another week, another
yep.
week, another week.
I think
Yeah.
one of the most important things as like artists, I mean like any like really self-managed job is like you really do have to give yourself a deadline to like
Yeah.
be like, yeah, you have to be done at this point because otherwise, I mean, you're just gonna sit there and just like
Yeah, you're just
constantly
gonna
just be
keep doing little ticky-tacky things and
yeah,
adding them on. And then, like you said, at one point, you might, after multiple months have gone by and you just keep adding stuff, you're like, this ain't even really the same song. Like you ain't
right,
even really like feeling it like you once did. And that's
100%.
that's another hard part too, that I think you can agree on is having songs that you've loved for maybe a year, maybe even two,
Yep,
and you want to release it, but you've just listened to it and done so many things to it that it's not the same, and you're
right,
like, will people feel this? And then that's an honest moment where you're like, I felt like this for a long time, and I think other people and audiences and fans will feel the same way and they'll
right.
connect with it.
right.
So,
Yeah, I think like finding that connection, because really, I mean, as like trying to build an audience, that is what you're going for. You want like, you want to be connecting with your audience. And it's like you said, it's almost like you don't outgrow the meaning of the song, but like I've definitely made songs where I have not been in like the same mindset like later on. And
mhm.
it's like I don't even know necessarily like you said, if I feel like right releasing it, but it's like I still went through that journey. I still like did all that
Yeah,
stuff. Um, so I think it's just like a hard thing to kind of like weigh, to just because
yeah,
you want to be
yeah,
authentic 100%.
yeah, 100%. And being authentic with yourself, that's task in itself.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's a challenging decision.
Okay.
Definitely.
So I think one thing that I definitely want to ask about is like, do you have like this is kind of like a more like still like production, post-production, but like, do you have like a mixing preference, like for like kind of how you're like testing your songs to make sure, everything's sounding good? Like, do you like to mix in the car, mix like in AirPods? I don't know, like, because,
Mhm.
everyone has like a little, different thing that they do.
Mhm. Yeah. So I start out obviously as everyone with the speakers and the
Yeah.
headphones. Yeah, I started with the headphones and then I go to the speakers,
Right.
just in my room. And then the car is definitely a big thing that a lot of little things will stick out. Um, and that's where I go to mainly for my S's and my T's and
Right.
that high EQ band will be in my car because that's when it'll really like stick out. Like you might hear the song fully developed and then you just hear like that
Yeah.
really just kind of
Ear
loud.
piercing
Yeah,
just hitting you in the ear.
yeah, yeah. So car's definitely a big one. And then I also got my little earbuds, and those are really good too because they have a higher EQ range already,
Right.
whereas all these other ones have a lot more bass.
Hmm.
So that'll also really help with my vowels and understanding how my voice is sounding. So those are my like main four that I'll always kind of rotate in between. Really any time of the day. It's not necessarily like one after another. Um, and then usually once I hear that, even if I'm at work or something, I'll write it down and I'll be like, yeah, that's what I need.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So do you have like when you're kind of like doing like that post-production stuff, do you have like a certain like way, like do you like to like, work your vocals first and then, take it to the car, test it, work something else, take it to the car and test it, or you kind of like to do like a all at once type of thing?
um, I kind of just, I kind of just let it go. Um, how do I say this? I kind of let it sink in for a day or two,
Okay.
just in all four, headphones, earbuds, car, head, speakers, all four. I'll kind of just rotate. Um, And as I'm hearing stuff, like I said, I'll just write it in my phone so that next time I sit down, I can just look at that, listen to it, and be like, oh, yeah, that's what I need to fix. Because
Okay.
9 times out of 10, you can't hear everything. Actually, I'll probably say 10 times out of 10, you can't hear everything in just your headphones.
Oh yeah,
You know,
definitely.
so it's a process of rotating each of them. There are certain songs where I'll go to my car. Maybe it's like a more deeper mix of a song.
Right.
So I purposely want to go to my car and see how it's feeling all around. But for the most part, I just let it play for a day or two and then let myself rest from it and then come back into it with different notes that I can fix on it.
Okay. That's actually, I think like one thing that I definitely try to do too much of is like just trying to do it all at once. And like, I just like,
Mm,
and I think you probably understand this is like, you just like sometimes like just get sick of the song, like
yeah.
actually just sick of it. Cause God, I don't remember who told me, but they're like, like you're getting close to being done when you start getting like sick of the song and like,
Yeah.
like, and you're like, yep, like you said, it's like here comes this thing again. Like I gotta fix that, It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
God, I think mixing for me is like one of the hardest, and for a lot of people, definitely like I think
Mhm.
one of the hardest
Yeah,
sections of it, but
yeah. And I think being a producer and an artist
right.
is definitely a huge factor that helps.
Yep.
It's a big benefit because you know the pockets of each instrument.
Right.
So adding your voice onto those pockets, you can kind of plan for that.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely still just honestly at times frustrating because you'll know, like you said, you'll hear it coming up, you'll hear it, and you're like, ugh, and then you'll hear another new thing like a day later. So I'll like write it down and then go back into it, and then it starts over, two or three more things, you know. But yeah, like you said, just giving it time to fully develop, and then once you really are sick of it, that's truthfully like the decision
Yep.
where we were touching on earlier. So.
Yeah, it's like you gotta if you're sick of it, you kind of just gotta decide like are you done? Are you like
Mhm.
what do you really have to add? What do you have to say? I feel like,
Yeah.
Um, so little bit before we get any further, I would like to talk about, like kind of projects that you're working on, projects that you've released, plug yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit of what you got going on.
Yeah, okay. So I have currently two projects out right now. My first ever was a rock album. It was very emotional. I went through a very interesting phase right before that. I had a girlfriend for like a year or two. And then right after, I dated another girl for like a few weeks, but it ended very awfully because I
Hmm.
wasn't ready. Blah, 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 blah. But, anyways, I put all that emotion into that album. Um,
You guys
so
are gonna
that,
have
that,
to listen to it to find out what happened.
oh, yeah, 100%. It's very, very storytelling. Got some very catchy stuff in there and very emotional stuff in there too. So I
Okay.
definitely give that a listen. Um, but I haven't actually released anything in I haven't released an album in over like a year and a half.
Okay.
And my last single was like 8 or 9 months ago. But great news is that I have a lot of stuff coming up and I've already planned it for next month. Um, each Friday next month is going to have something releasing.
Oh, hell yeah.
Um, yep, first Friday, we're going to have a song that I've worked on for a bunch of months now. Following that Friday, second Friday of August, I'm going to have the music video drop for that.
Okay.
And then following that Friday, we're going to have the merch store and my website officially release.
Okay.
So that'll be cool, fully engulfing that. Then following that, we have another single and then the album that I've been working on for a while now.
Okay.
Um, and I still haven't decided if it's going to be a part A and part B album or
Okay.
just one, but there is going to be at least 8 tracks, probably 8 to 10.
Okay.
And it'll tell a little bit of a story just in my life and, my true emotions in this past, what, 3, 4, 5 years that I've been on this journey.
Right.
Um, and the album will be called Nomad,
Ooh.
which basically means, someone exploring the world without a home
Right.
and just trying to not only find their new home, but be comfortable with themselves in exploring everything by themselves. So it's pretty cool. It's kind of conceptual. It kind of starts off a little dark and a little in my own space, in my own world,
Right.
but it's kind of a journey of finding love, not only within myself, but for other people too. So it's
Wow,
definitely an expressive, emotional album.
that's fucking awesome. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for everyone to hear
First off, cool ass fucking name. Holy shit. Love that.
it.
I so every time that someone like tells me like the name of an album or like name of a single, I just love hearing the story behind like why it was chosen. 'Cause like to other people that like, like aren't, thinking I guess like creatively or like creating content like that in any way. Um, the title is like really like that's like the window I feel like to the soul of like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like it gets overlooked a lot of the time completely because everyone's like, well, it's just a title, like it's it's not that thing, but it's like, well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Like I feel like there's a lot of people that'll see the title and just be like, "Oh, okay." Just kind of like
right,
see it as a name of the album, but don't really understand why and don't
right,
dive into that within the album. Because if you remember that name and are really thinking about it while listening to each track, then you really paint that picture of like, "Oh, okay. I
right.
see. I see."
Okay. Yeah, no, like it's just like you said, like I really love to hear the story
Mm,
behind like, why it's being created and everything. I think it's just like so awesome. And I mean the message is absolutely amazing. I feel like it's a lot like
mm,
something that a lot of people can relate to right now, because I definitely like, feel that a lot of people are kind of getting, like to the point where they're kind of jaded with reality and kind of
mhm.
having to come to terms of like why and like truly like confront themselves almost in a sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I have to ask, like, is there any like reason that you decided to pick like next month as like the, you know, time to do your new single or like kind of just was like, I'm ready to go?
Yeah, yeah. So the main things are the singles will feel kind of summer vibes and kind of upbeat and makes you feel good and makes you, want to get dancing and do whatever, get down, you know what I mean?
Right,
Um, but following that, the album kind of goes into more of the emotional stuff, which I kind of just personally mix in with fall and winter,
right,
um, being that especially fall, you're like, oh, the weather's getting colder, it's going to be just automatically, just the vibes are going to be a little bit more depressed,
right.
just because everything's so dry and cold and you're by yourself, honestly, a lot
Yep.
more in the winter too. So that's the main reason of me kind of doing this now in the fall. Um, and I debated doing it in the winter, but I think doing it in the fall and really kind of developing those songs as you're listening to them, you'll know it by the time the winter comes and it'll kind of put you in that own world. And that's really what I want to do with this project is for people to listen to it and just feel like they're in, a completely different area and time and just feel like they're mesmerized and kind of trapped inside of this music in a great way though.
Right, right. I mean, you literally want to transport them like almost inside your
Mhm.
mind, like literally.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just yeah, and they connect with, the lyrics and how the lyrics are showing how you feel and you're like, yeah, like, that's how I connect and that's how I'm listening and why I'm listening to this stuff and different things like that. But I think it'll be very good and a great project. So
I'm really excited. Like it sounds really awesome. Um, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but
mm.
if you do want to, what is your single called that's coming out first?
The first single is gonna be Wait on Me,
Okay.
which is a song that I started, I want to say 6 or 7 months ago,
Hmm.
around there. It was right around winter time. Um, and it was cold out, and I was making a beat, and I found it very unique because almost like all beats, the bass and everything will kind of kick in right on one,
Right.
boom, boom. But what's cool about this song is that everything doesn't kick in at least really hard and gets louder
Hmm.
until the second beat. So it's like da 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 boom, and then like everything kind of kicks
Okay.
in. So it's a very it'll kind of like throw you off the
Hmm.
first time you listen to it. But then by the time it gets to like the second and last chorus, you're like, oh, you're excited for it to go
Right.
down and drop. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a very good, just sounding song. It's
Okay.
very like the lyrics are great too, but just the flow and everything about the chorus being kind of catchy and it's
It's just a
great
bop.
vibes. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, truthfully,
I'm
yeah.
I'm so fucking excited to hear this now too. Jesus.
Mm.
Um, oh my gosh, I'm like choked. Um, so kind of like I know you're probably like you're filming the music video yourself, I'm assuming, or like having probably like one other person help you. Um,
Mm.
I'm really excited to see that. Do you have like is it kind of like a more conceptual music video, like a trippy music video, kind of like I don't know. Like what's the vibe of
It's
it?
a, it's actually a bit of both of those.
Okay.
So the first half of the music video is a lot more just kind of like you said earlier, it's just like a bop. So it's kind of
Right.
just, you know, riding the wave of the beat and just dancing to it and some cinematic, very cinematic, pretty shots. Um, and then the second half, I actually in the song, I dive in to my relationship currently.
Okay.
And once I dive into that, I also put my girlfriend into the music video, which was very fun to shoot.
Right.
And we just went out and had a good time and found good spots. And it was kind of the concept I wanted of just like living in the moment and having fun with it,
Right.
and just finding these spots where like, oh yeah, like let's have some fun here and do something. Um, but yeah, no, it tells a story more in the second half of the music video than in the first, but it matches the lyrics very well.
Okay.
Um, so,
That's really
mhm,
awesome. I
mhm,
because so me and Nomed, like how we met is like we both go to the same school, and I think that that music video boot camp class that we took, um
mhm,
that like it's honestly like it was so helpful just to have like someone, telling like because I don't know, like when I had thought about shooting a music video, like I had never thought about, like actually like necessarily, I guess like planning it out in the way of like finding like what every like specific like single shot I'm gonna get and like stuff like that. It's like I've got an
mhm.
idea and I was just gonna go out and do it, but it probably wouldn't have worked as well, like
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like if you just have some spots and you're like, yeah, I'll go there.
yeah, right? 100%.
Um, yeah, that was a huge help. It helped me plan out the first half of the song and the ending,
Right,
and really gave me the blueprint, obviously, for what I wanted. Um, but I did experiment a little bit, like I said earlier, with that second verse and that kind of second half of the music video. Because to add on to earlier, the first half is like very cinematic shots, like I said, where I'm kind of far away and
right,
it's like not as personal. It's more just like, oh, like that's a vibe. Like I
right,
understand what he's going for. Like this is lit. And then second half, it gets more close up shots of me and gets more personal as soon as I dive into the kind of real message of the song. Because I'm playing a little play on words with the chorus for "Wait on Me." It's like "Don't wait on me, throw weight on me"
right.
type shit. So
Yep, yep. I love that. Fuck yeah. That's it's so good. Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah, no, like, and honestly, like you said, just getting out there and shooting a music video is just so much fun. Like seriously,
Mhm.
to just be out there
Mhm.
and just
Yeah.
I don't know, like
It's kind of it's similar to the feeling of being on stage in a way,
yep,
depending on where you're at. Because you know, for most of these shots, my last music video, if not all of them, it was just out in public, and you just got to be yourself and just have fun with the song and truly vibe
100%.
to it, and that'll get you the end product that you want and really push yourself to really encapsulating that feeling that you get in the song.
Definitely. Okay, so is there like any like last minute things that like you think people need to know about you? Like any last minute things that you want to plug? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really currently right now. I would definitely go listen to my old stuff, to get prepared for my new stuff
Right,
because the new stuff really adds on to the old stuff, like, and you really see the growth in that. And it's not like it's unbearable either. It's not like the old stuff is bad at all. It's just, especially as an artist, you feel that your new stuff is always something that you're really looking forward to.
right.
Um, but yeah, I definitely please stay tuned for next month because it's going to be a fun, fun month. And I don't know if anyone lives in Virginia who's watching this, but if you are, I got a show in Virginia Tech on the 13th with I'm gonna try and get EC in there too because they got me on the set list for it, but I think I'm gonna get him as a surprise feature in there too. So
All right, bet.
Definitely come to that if you're in the area. But yeah, got a big month up coming up, and I'm excited for it. I'm very looking forward to it. So
Hell yeah. I'm excited to see it. I know, definitely all the viewers, they're gonna be excited. You guys don't get a choice. You guys are excited. Um, um, but is there I actually just like started doing, or I'm just like starting to do this now, but like is there like one last piece of advice that you'd like to leave, or like a word of wisdom or anything like that?
Yeah, I would honestly say trust yourself and obviously never stop, never give up. The only way to fail is to give up. Like, in my personal opinion, there's no other way to actually fail than if you just give up. And if you're being true to yourself and you keep pushing, there's no way that that's going to happen. And then on top of that, I'd just say be humble, and be humble and happy, live life, and just keep pushing on.
100%. Great note
Mhm.
to end the episode on. Thank you guys for tuning in to DK After Dark, take you behind the artists, how they paved their path, and helping you pave yours. We will see you next week in the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out. Thank you.